The baddest man on the planet is a saying reserved for the unanimous heavyweight boxing champions, but lately, it's mostly used for UFC heavyweights. However, there was no person on earth who embodied the baddest man on the planet more than Mike Tyson in his prime. Iron Mike was dangerous for everybody around him, both in and out of the ring. How good was Mike Tyson really? What are some lesser-known details about his career? And how does he fare in the boxing GOAT debate? Find out in the rest of the video.
I was gonna rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lynx is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from their claw. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children. Praise be to Allah.
Tough upbringing, and start a boxing career. Tyson grew up without a father in a rough neighborhood, but he wasn't in any way violent or problematic. He was a plump kid who wore glasses and was often teased for his pitched voice and was once sexually abused as a child. All Mike cared about was his flock of pigeons, which he fed every day. At the age of 11, Mike was already really strong, and when an older kid killed one of his birds, he snapped and beat up the bully, which finally earned him respect in the streets. That's when everything changed in his life, and he used that newfound reputation and joined the local gang. By the age of 13, he got arrested more than 30 times, mostly for theft and violence. He'd probably end up dead or in jail if it weren't for Bob Stewart, who was Mike's counselor in a correctional facility. Stewart was a former amateur boxing champion who saw potential in Tyson and persuaded him to channel his raw strength into boxing and not beating people in the street for money. After a few months, Stewart introduced Tyson to Cus D'Amato, who will soon become the most important person in Mike's life. D'Amato was a celebrated coach who trained former heavyweight champion Floyd Patterson and light heavyweight champion Jose Torres. But he was also an aging coach who had already turned 70 and wasn't going to be hired by a championship caliber fighter anymore. And that's why D'Amato and unbridled 14-year-old Tyson were made for each other. Cus needed a new project, and in addition to being a much-needed father figure in Tyson's life, Coach D'Amato developed a style that perfectly matched the physiognomy of the explosive but relatively short Tyson. Mike was undersized as a heavyweight, at 5'10", with a 5'11" reach. But on the other hand, he was extremely fast and built like a tank. Cus's peekaboo style suited Tyson perfectly because he had a low center of gravity and was as strong as they come. Tyson's matches in the first phase of his career were a textbook example of peekaboo developed to perfection. With hands in front of his face, his chin low, dipping and weaving where the opponents couldn't reach him, made Tyson almost impossible to hit, and he could counter with arguably the strongest uppercut in boxing history. Mike trained hard and studied boxing extensively, and even though he was still a teenager, his body was almost fully developed. He often fought against older guys, and usually knocked them out cleanly after a few rounds. As an amateur, he won the Junior Olympics twice in 1981 and 82, but still failed to qualify for the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics, and then decided to go pro. On March the 6th, 1985, he had his first professional fight at the age of 18. His opponent Hector Mercedes lasted less than 2 minutes before he fell down, and Mike earned $500 for the fight. Realizing what kind of heavy artillery Mike possessed in his hands, D'Amato had him box very often. By the end of his first year as a professional, Mike's record stood at 15-0, with only one fighter surviving to see round 3. But his fairy tale came to its first turning point. In late 1985, Cus D'Amato passed away, the only real support Tyson had had in his life up to that point. Although the coaching part of the job did not suffer, since Tyson was taken over by D'Amato's assistant Kevin Rooney, the mentor and a father figure disappeared from Mike's life. Many people, including Tyson himself, consider this a crucial moment in his career and life. Tyson's amateur career was brief but impressive. He won gold medals at the 1981 and 1982 Junior Olympic Games, knocking out opponents with such speed and power that he began to draw attention from the boxing world. His knockout of Joe Cortez in just 8 seconds remains the fastest in Junior Olympic history. Despite his early success, Tyson's amateur career was not without setbacks. He lost twice to Henry Tillman, a future Olympic gold medalist. But these losses only fueled Tyson's desire to improve. Tyson turned professional on March 6, 1985, at the age of 18. His professional debut was a statement of intent. He knocked out Hector Mercedes in the first round. This was the beginning of a meteoric rise in the boxing world. Tyson's early fights were nothing short of spectacular. He became known for his ferocious style, characterized by his relentless aggression and ability to deliver devastating knockouts. Tyson's opponents often found themselves overwhelmed by his intensity and physicality, unable to withstand his onslaught. In 1986, just a year after turning pro, Tyson's career reached new heights. He fought 13 times that year, winning every fight by knockout, and most of them in the first round. Tyson's ability to dispatch his opponents with such ease and speed earned him the nickname Iron Mike. He was a prodigy, a fighter unlike anything the boxing world had seen before. Tyson's big break came on November 22, 1986, when he faced Trevor Berbick for the WBC heavyweight title. Berbick was the last man to fight and defeat Muhammad Ali, and he was expected to give Tyson a tough fight. However, Tyson dismantled Berbick in just 2 rounds, knocking him down 3 times before the fight was stopped. At 20 years old, Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in history, a record that still stands today. In 1987, Tyson unified 3 heavyweight belts, and his rise to the title of the undisputed heavyweight champion was movie-like, and he had the whole world at his feet. He was dominant in the ring, he had great managers that set him up for millions pouring into his bank account, and in 1988, he married actress Robin Givens, and one of the most desirable women in the world. However, the various detours were slowly taking shape, and his demons were starting to make a public appearance. Tyson lived a debauched lifestyle that was not suited for an athlete, and he soon began to crumble. He divorced Robin, his manager Bill Keaton left him, and the infamous Don King came in his place. Mike was often partying, drinking, and using drugs. He crashed several expensive cars and tried to kill himself. Still, he continued to win, and his young withstood his auto-destructive habits. But he was far from clean. He used a fake penis that worked extremely well for drug tests. It contained someone else's urine. Of course, you just have to hope that the urine is clean, Tyson admitted years later. He was never caught during his career, even though he was a cocaine addict for years and a heavy marijuana smoker. However, he said he never used steroids or any other PEDs, which we believe him. Since he was brutally jacked and ripped even as a young teenager, he indeed was just a freak of nature. What was particularly impressive is the strength of Tyson's neck, which was key to his stability and apparent invulnerability. His neck muscles were so strong that they successfully absorbed hard blows to the head. Paired with a killer punch, explosiveness, mobility, and having a great coach in his corner, Mike began to look invincible in the eyes of the world and himself. After he won the title, he convincingly defended it 9 times, which is still the 3rd longest reign for a heavyweight champion of the world. By the year 1990, his record stood at 37-0, with 33 knockouts, 17 of them in the first round. At the age of 23, with just 4.5 years in professional boxing, Tyson was considered the most dominant human who ever put on a pair of gloves. Mike had become so dangerous that bookmakers stopped making offers for his fights. When he was supposed to fight Buster Douglas in Tokyo in February of 1990, only one casino in the US offered the odds for the match. The Mirage in Las Vegas rated Tyson as a 42-1 favorite, and if you had put $100 on Tyson, you would only win $3 back if he had won. Tyson's first professional loss came on February 11, 1990, in one of the biggest upsets in sports history. Tyson faced James Buster Douglas in Tokyo, Japan, in what was expected to be an easy win. Tyson was a 42-1 favorite, and many believed that Douglas had no chance of winning. However, Tyson came into the fight underprepared and overconfident. He had not trained properly, and his personal life was in disarray. Douglas, on the other hand, fought the fight of his life. He outboxed Tyson from the opening bell, using his jab to keep Tyson at bay and landing powerful combinations. In the 10th round, Douglas landed a devastating uppercut, followed by a combination that sent Tyson to the canvas for the first time in his career. Tyson struggled to get up, but the referee counted him out, and Douglas was declared the winner. The loss to Douglas was a turning point in Tyson's career. It shattered his aura of invincibility and exposed the vulnerabilities that had been masked by his previous dominance. Tyson's lack of preparation, combined with his personal struggles, had finally caught up with him. After the first loss of his career, everything went downhill for Tyson. He did win his next 4 fights and looked like he was poised for a shot to regain his titles, but he would be denied by circumstances outside the ring. Tyson was arrested in July 1991 for the alleged rape of 18-year-old Desiree Washington. 6 months later, he was sentenced to 6 years in prison, with 4 more on probation. "There's a lot of things I could have gone to jail for, and I deserve to go to jail for," he said, "but this wasn't one of them. I didn't do it, and I will never admit doing it." While serving his sentence, he converted to Islam and took a new name, Malik Abdul Aziz, and after 3 years, he was released from prison for good behavior. Upon his release, he quickly returned to the ring. His first opponent was Peter McNeely in August of 1995, whom Tyson easily defeated in only 89 seconds. In the next year, he had 3 more victories, and neither fight went past round 3. He won back 2 of his heavyweight belts in a dominant fashion, and everyone was pumped to see Iron Mike back in his usual form. Mike was then ready for some unfinished business in a big fight against Evander the Real Deal Holyfield. Even though he was the former heavyweight champ, Holyfield was as 25-1 underdog because everybody started believing in Tyson's invincibility again. Holyfield had other ideas. Just like Douglas, he did not cave in and did not appear to be the least bit intimidated by the quote-unquote baddest man on the planet. Due to a height, reach, and weight advantage, Holyfield dominated much of the fight, and he actually bullied the big bully. After he landed several big punches, Evander finally knocked Tyson out in the 11th round, after which the defeated Mike angrily accused him of illegal headbutts and demanded a new fight. He was given the opportunity on June 28, 1997, and in a new fight, a moment occurred that would forever mark Tyson's career and be remembered by generations to come. In the 3rd round of the fight, Tyson bit off a part of his opponent's right ear and was immediately disqualified. He was stripped of his boxing license and paid a $3 million fine. "I really wasn't interested in boxing. I know I was wrong to bite his ear, but that has nothing to do with sports. I didn't even think when I bit him. I was drugged. I didn't train for that match at all. I should have been home with my family, not in that ring." Despite his controversial career, Mike Tyson remains one of the most iconic figures in sports history. His influence extends beyond boxing. Tyson is a cultural icon, known for his distinctive voice, facial tattoo, and candid personality. He has appeared in movies, TV shows, and even his own one-man show, Undisputed Truth, where he shares stories from his tumultuous life. He was a true showman, and his ability to generate excitement and draw massive crowds helped revitalize the sport of boxing during the 1980s and 1990s. Tyson's legacy is complex. On one hand, he was one of the most dominant heavyweights in boxing history, with a prime that saw him dismantle nearly every opponent he faced. He remains one of the most feared fighters of all time. On the other hand, Tyson's career was marred by controversy, legal issues, and personal struggles. His inability to maintain his focus and discipline outside the ring ultimately led to his downfall. Tyson's prime was relatively short, and his later career was characterized by inconsistency and erratic behavior. So how good was Prime Mike Tyson actually? In his prime, Tyson was a once-in-a-lifetime talent, a fighter who combined raw power with incredible speed and technical skill. He was a force of nature in the ring, and his dominance during the late 1980s was unparalleled. Tyson's impact on the sport of boxing is still felt today, and his legacy as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time is secure. However, Tyson's career is also a cautionary tale. His rapid rise to fame, coupled with his personal struggles, ultimately led to his downfall. Tyson's prime was cut short by his inability to manage the pressures of fame and the temptations that came with it. While he remains a legendary figure in boxing, his career is a reminder of the importance of discipline, focus, and the support of those around you.
The inspiration of a lot of people. I brought some other people, some other interviewers who are going to help me out because you're an inspiration to them too. Now, what's wrong?
I'm scared of him.
You're scared of this one? He's a sweetheart.
He's a real champ.
Who would have won if you fought this man in your prime?
I was a dancing master.
Yeah, you were a dancer. You moved.
I wasn't that powerful. I was so fast.
Uh-huh.
If he hit me,
I'm vain.
I know I'm great, but can I tell you something? In this situation, every head must bow, every tongue must confess. This is the greatest of all time.